This is from NASA's website. This is from Greenland.
Okay.
Okay. This is from NASA's website. And they always get a little selfie, it gets a little piece of a solar panel or the edge of the rover. This is from Greenland. NASA's lying here. This is not from.
So here's the problem. Empirically, I don't believe you. So you're telling me you don't believe in what in the photos that were taken by that Russian lander in 1975 on Venus, and empirically you don't believe them. You believe that those are fake. I'm going to do the same.
Wait a minute.
thing
Hold
to
on
you.
a second.
I'm going to do the same thing to you, Dave. I don't believe
Michael.
you.
So again, fundamental lack of understanding of the burden of proof logical fallacy. I mean, he's not even on a children's level when it comes to logic here or the scientific method. Otherwise, he wouldn't say, I'm going to do the same thing, because the burden of proof is on positive claims. Now, and one is not called enough to prove a negative. Again, this is logic 101. This is children's level logic. He can't grasp it. The other point, he's saying he doesn't believe David Weiss, who just threw up those two photos. Notice how he strawman to other photos and other events immediately. He red herringed and strawmanned to other things instead of what David Weiss just put up on the screen. So, if he doesn't believe that that photo is from NASA on the left and from Greenland from whatever photographer encyclopedia on the right, he should verify that for himself at that point. And David Weiss should have thrown up the sources on there and told him to check on his phone right then and there. So that way the goof wouldn't make the argument he just did, which he probably would anyway, because obviously he doesn't like logic. So, I mean, there's tons of these images, and what this goof doesn't know, I mean, this is getting painful. I mean, this goof is so clueless, he doesn't even know that a lot of these images coming from Devon Island are also from NASA. And coincidentally, NASA actually set up the Houghton Mars project at Devon Island, coincidentally also releasing tons of images without the filter that's allegedly applied in the pictures that are allegedly from Mars. What a coincidence! I mean, let's just go to nasa.gov here. nasa.gov/exploration/human research/analog/research_info_analog-houghton.html. The Houghton Mars Project. NASA's Houghton Mars Project is part of an international interdisciplinary field research facility located on the world's largest uninhabited island, Devon Island. This project uses the polar desert setting and harsh climate of the Canadian high Arctic to mimic the environmental conditions that crew members are likely to encounter on Mars and other planets. Devon Island's barren terrain, freezing temperatures, isolation, and remoteness offer NASA scientists and personnel a number of unique research opportunities. Other factors such as the Arctic day and night cycle and restricted logistics and communications capabilities offer fitting analogs for the challenges that crew members will likely face on long-duration space flights. In addition to ongoing studies that focus on variables such as communications, equipment testing, and vehicular and extravehicular operations, Devon Island is also the site of the exploration program, which aims to develop new technologies, strategies, and operational protocols geared to support the future exploration of the Moon, Mars, and other planets. You can learn more about the Houghton Mars Project and the Devon Island research facilities at marsonearth.org. But again, this utter goof in Sartain doesn't think that it might be curious that this landscape looks either identical or near identical to allegedly what is being purported as Mars. And I'm not sure if David Weiss got this right. Did they really Photoshop in some of these drones or lander modules? Because they're taking photos of them already in Devon. They're already experimenting with them in Devon Island. So they're taking photos with all of these, all of this technology already in frame. There's no need to Photoshop it. You could just, I mean, this is easy. You just throw the sepia tone right over it, including the modules. But this utter goof Sartain doesn't find it curious. Now, is this smart on the part of NASA? Because if they are faking everything, I mean, how would you prove? See, if there was no Devon Island Research Station, Like, what kind of plausible deniability is this? Because, curiously, if they're claiming that Devon Island has a landscape identical or nearly identical to Mars, I mean, first of all, Sartain is such an utter goof. He apparently doesn't even know about this. Second of all, if he did know about it, he would just parrot, like, obviously a brain-dead utter moron. Just, of course that's Devon Island. It just happens to look exactly like Mars. Nothing to see here. Obviously, they're not faking it with a sepia tone. Why would they do that? I mean, you could already predict what these clueless goofs without the mental capacity or critical thinking of even a 4-year-old are going to say. I mean, Sartain is clearly the Dunning-Kruger champion already. I mean, he has argued more cluelessly. Not necessarily in volume, because I don't know if he's going to beat Bryant Myers. I mean, that's an impressive record. I mean, Bryant Myers went 4 digits. I mean, maybe Sartain will as well, but just the depths of illogicality that Sartain is in. I mean, I've never seen, forget the topic of flat Earth, I've never seen utter goofery like this before on any topic from somebody who can, at least speak English, at least speak a language, at least seems to have some kind of understanding of at least some words. I mean, the guy's clearly stringing together words. We can't say he's completely incapable of utilizing English. Obviously, English comprehension is another matter, but conversational English, he clearly does have the mental capacity to engage in conversational English. Whether it has any merit or not, that's a different matter. So it is a little weird. So some people would say this is like the serial killer calling the police station. Mars on Earth. And then they're releasing all of these videos and experiments of these robots. Again, marsonearth.org. I mean, there's other sites that have some interesting images. I mean, these are all mainstream sites and blogs. I mean, amusingplanet.com has a lot of photos here with all of the links to nasa.gov for goofs like Sartain, who thinks that these are all fake. Let's look at the write-up here on Amusing Planet. Kashuik Patori, May 14, 2016, Devon Island, Mars on Earth. Devon Island in Baffin Bay, belonging to the Canadian Arctic Archipelago, is the largest uninhabited island on Earth, and for good reason. Also, if you are going to be faking photos of other alleged planets or whatever, is this the type of place you would pick? I mean, that's what a lot of goofs and coincidence there's authority-worshipping cultists. Their mental capacity is so low, they can't even consider the possibility. They can't even employ the basic mental faculties required to consider, hold on a second, if this was fake, I mean, maybe it's not all fake, but if there were a conspiracy, how would it be executed? And if it happens to be executed exactly the way conspiracy theorists allege, that's curious, isn't it? Obviously, nobody should believe anything without evidence, especially not extraordinary claims that people are going to Mars or sending some kind of equipment to Mars and getting images from Mars at the alleged distances Mars is purported to be. I mean, that's an extraordinary claim. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, not images from Devon Island that are sepia-toned that are alleged to look. And how would they know that Devon Island looks exactly like Mars? So they go to Mars. I mean, what's the story here from NASA? So they land something on Mars that takes pictures. Now, after they land on Mars, they say, "Oh, wait a second! It just so happens that it looks exactly like Devon Island." Even though Devon Island is clearly on Earth with an atmosphere, with clearly Earth-like proportions, because it's not like Devon Island is Antarctica. Some people think they're faking a lot of stuff in Antarctica, which they might. Antarctica does also have some somewhat similar terrain. But I mean, Devon Island is close enough to Canada. I mean, it's close enough to a lot of these other countries in the Arctic areas, but it does. You could find places similar to this. It's just obviously, as a whole, the island is uninhabited. So if NASA were to be doing some faking, I mean, they wouldn't want, if you go to certain places in the Scandinavian countries or, some of these other countries, then even northern Russia maybe might have some similar areas Arctic desert, so to speak. I mean, obviously they exist. I think Mongolia might have some similar terrain, but they don't necessarily want to do it in areas where there might be people, not necessarily there, but around, or constant flights overhead. Random people flying drones in the area. So they might pick a place like Devon Island. But again, just the narrative. Mars just so happens to look exactly like Devon Island. So let's just do all the tests at Devon Island. I mean, are the conditions... So this just doesn't make any sense. It all falls apart under basic logical scrutiny. Because the whole of Mars, or most of Mars, looks exactly like Devon Island. And yet on Earth, there's such a variation of terrain. Because theoretically, if we take the heliocentric globe model with all of the solar system as described, if these are all physical locations, why would most of Mars look exactly like Devon Island, and why would there be so much more variation on Earth and not on Mars? I mean, everything is so weird. And wouldn't Mars have even more? I mean, allegedly, I guess they would say it has even more extreme temperatures. But yeah, the whole thing is just weird. But let me just go over this article here. I mean, goofs like Sartain. I mean, this is the bottom of the barrel here. I mean, this is getting really painful. But so the ground remains frozen for almost the entire year, particularly the eastern third of the island, which is permanently covered by an ice cap some 500 to 700 meters thick. I mean, just look at the variation just on the island. For only a brief period lasting 45 to 50 days, during the height of summer, the ground is snow-free. Summer temperatures rise barely above 8 degrees Celsius. The average annual temperature is negative 16 Celsius. In other words, Devon Island is a barren wasteland dominated by frost-shattered rocks and nearly devoid of plants and animals. But for scientists and researchers, Devon Island is an extremely interesting place. Its desert condition and harsh climate is very similar to conditions on Mars. Mars is farther than Earth from the sun, so is supposedly much farther than Earth from the sun. The temperature on Mars, according to Space.com, is relatively low, averaging negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Devon Island is negative 16. And you know what's crazy? Because, I mean, that's kind of close. You have negative 60, negative 16. I mean, when we're talking about these astronomical distances, I mean... it's just, the whole thing is just weird to think about, obviously, because, I mean, how would any of this be proven anyway? But, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It also has, again, according to Space.com, Mars has a thin atmosphere, which is 95% carbon dioxide. Earth is 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. I mean, you would think some of these differences might not result in exactly the same terrain. I mean, I don't know. Also, on Mars, allegedly, the temperature can drop to negative 128 Celsius. Devon can get to negative 50 Celsius. Now, Devon Island also receives little precipitation, but, I mean, obviously it's next to other oceans. I mean, you look up Devon Island, even on Wikipedia, and already you see water all over the place. So a landscape right next to a ton of water. I mean, it is an island next to a ton of water. And then, of course, you have, even if it doesn't get a lot of rain, whatever, but there's obviously hydrogen. I mean, there's obviously a lot of hydrogen and oxygen just through the water all around. And the landscape ends up looking exactly like Mars with no water. Or very little water in comparison. I mean, does anybody find this strange? I mean, is it a big ask to believe that this planet, this huge distance away, allegedly with not a lot of water, just happens to look the way Devon Island looks today? Because you could argue, I guess you could argue, if, let's say, there was a landscape in Antarctica that was landlocked, or even in the middle of Siberia, somewhere really far away from water that used to have water, but for whatever reason, it has some kind of unique isolation that Devon Island doesn't have. Like, you could argue there would be places, I mean, some of these deserts in Mongolia, whatever, surrounded by so much vast land, so far away from any rivers or oceans, that maybe had water in the past. and let's say 1,000 years ago, whatever, and now they don't, you could argue a little bit better that maybe it could end up looking like Mars slightly more. I mean, still no, just because of the vast, different of the elemental makeup of the atmosphere or lack thereof on Mars, and everything's just so different. And yet even the rocks look exactly the same. I mean, that's a big ask. It's a big ask to believe a non-indoctrinated cultist who wants to utilize logic and reason and the scientific method to just believe that Devon Island just so happens to look exactly like the landscape of Mars. I mean, just look at all these rocks in the Mars footage. Forget comparing to Devon Island. Just look at only Mars. I mean, how would that have ended up that way? And how could you prove it? I mean, goofs like Sartain would obviously never even ask these questions. But let me continue here. Since 2001, Devon Island has been the summer home for a group of people working on an international research project called the Houghton Mars Project that studies how human explorers might live and work on other planetary objects, in particular Mars. And this also goes to show, like, a lot of scientism cultists, a lot of authority-worshipping cultists and NASA apologists, these coincidence theorist goofs, they pretend that there's no research or money being done to travel back to the moon or to land humans on Mars. They pretend that the technology allegedly disappearing since the Apollo missions is not suspicious because there's no effort being put in to to sending humans back into space or the moon or Mars. Clearly there is, and there always was. I mean, these goofs, the mental gymnastics these goofs do to justify continuing their blind faith in the moon landings and the human moon landings, I mean, it's curious. I mean, these goofs will go to any depths. I mean, the cult is strong with these goofs. Devon Island's barren terrain, freezing temperatures, isolation and remoteness offer NASA scientists and personnel a number of unique research opportunities. What a coincidence. Reads the project's information page on NASA's websites. Other factors, such as the Arctic day and night cycle and restricted logistics and communications capabilities, offer fitting analogs for the challenges that crew members will likely face on long-duration space flights. Not to mention, I mean, the alleged orbit of Mars around the sun is allegedly also much wider than Earth. And yet it results in conditions that has a landscape that just so happens to look like only a specific area on Earth. Operated by the Mars Society and primarily funded by NASA, the research is based out of the Flashline Mars Arctic Research Station, located on a ridge overlooking the Houghton Impact Crater, a 23-kilometer diameter crater formed approximately 39 million years ago when a 2-kilometer diameter projectile slammed into Earth, allegedly. How would they prove that, by the way? And why did no scientism cultists ever demand any evidence? Evidence according to the scientific method. Because there is no flowing water due to the freezing temperatures, weathering is minimal. As such, Houghton retains many geological features that craters elsewhere lose to erosion. The Houghton Impact Crater is said to have one of the most Mars-like terrain on Earth. Devon Island is not entirely devoid of life. The Truelove lowland area on the northeast coast of Devon Island is relatively warm and wet and has some vegetation and, surprisingly, some wildlife, too. And that's kind of weird, too, because when you look at the Truelove lowlands, it's still, from a distance, even not from a distance, depending on the exact area you go to, it still kind of looks like Mars. And here you have wildlife and fauna and all this stuff. I mean, yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. It just so happens to look allegedly like Mars. In fact, the high summer temperature of 8 degrees Celsius and those 50 days of snow-free ground occur in this area. The lowlands are poorly drained, favoring the growth of some moss, over which musk oxen graze year-round. Now, is this another one of these coincidences that musk ox just so happened to live in Devon Island, which is a Mars on Earth, which is a Mars research station by NASA for studying going to Mars. And the musk ox are, of course, native to the Arctic. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, is everybody following here? So So allegedly, Devon Island, Devon Island, allegedly looks exactly like Mars. Devon Island, allegedly, this Mars research station where they test out all these different apparatus, landers, even spacesuits of certain kinds. I mean, again, I'm using planet.com here. Has a lot of photos. And yeah, it just so happens that even musk ox live on this island. I mean, out of all the species, oh man. All right. We have to move on here because, I mean, the coincidence theorists are probably having a field day. They're probably pulling out Olympic level mental gymnastics here to try to write this all off. But okay. All right. Let's try to get back on topic here.
Michael, hold on. If I prove to you that this is from NASA's website,
That's
do you
fine.
think that this is a faked picture of Mars?
But you'd have to also prove to me that the other one's from Greenland, and that is not a rendered picture that where you change the color of the landscape to green in the background. You use like a very simple procedure to do in Photoshop.
It's the other way around. They took out the clouds and made it a sepia tone.
Again, empirically, you were saying that. So I'm going to use the same method with you. Empirically, I do not believe that what you're showing me is that NASA did both. Okay, and by the way, even if they did, it doesn't make the Earth flat. It doesn't.
Doesn't make it a globe either, does it? Because notice how David Weiss didn't say that this proves flat Earth. Notice how he did not use that as an explicit. Maybe he does elsewhere, but right here, he just is basically showing how silly it is to have blind faith in renderings or anything coming from an organization that is not backing up any extraordinary claims. That's David Weiss's point there. Apparently lost on this poor goof, Michael Sartain, who doesn't even grasp that concept.